Okay, we're picking up our study of trigonometry with the law of cosines. We just finished up the law of sines. I've written out here the law of cosines. I want to emphasize that the letters do not matter. It's where they are on the triangle that matters. But I do want to point out the essential part to get right, and that's these two that I've highlighted right here. This is a side, and this is its opposite angle. These should be across from each other. So that means the other two sides are the B and C. So like with the law of sines, I'm going to end up circling the things that are across from each other to help me to set it up correctly. So I have this triangle right here, and I want to find X. So notice it's not labeled with A's, B's, or C's. So here we go. There's my angles and its opposite side. So that means this 7 and this 9 in this equation are the B and C. So I'm just going to write it in. So A is the X, so X squared equals 7 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 7 times 9 cosine 40. Now, as it just so happens, when we're finding a missing side using the law of cosines, it's actually fairly simple to type this all into the calculator at the same time. And then, since it's an X squared, take a square root. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to type that all in. So I have 7 squared plus the 9 squared minus 2 times 7 times 9 times cosine 40. Double check that I put it all in right and the minus sign right there. So I'll go ahead and execute that. So I get 33.5. And now I square root because I have an X squared right there. So X is going to equal the square root of that. And I get 5.78. All right, pretty simple. Now, when we're finding a missing side with the law of cosines, it's pretty easy. Just got to set up, make sure we get each thing in the right spot. But getting an angle is a little bit trickier. So in this one, I have it with here's my angle and the side across from it. So this is what I'm circling. I can't circle any other things because I don't have an angle to go with it. So this tells me that I'm going to use the law of cosines. So these are the things that are across from each other. So this time, this would be my A, and the 4 and the 5 would be the B and C in the formula. So I'm going to have 8 squared equals 4 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 4 times 5 times the cosine of X. This is the thing that's missing. Now this time, I can't just type this all in. So I'm going to do it in little pieces. 8 squared is 64, 4 squared is 16, and 25. And if you don't know these, you could type them in your calculator. And then this part, 2 times 4 times 5, that's going to be 40. So minus 40 cosine X. Now, it's very tempting to add and subtract all this stuff right here, but I can't because this 40 cosine is not a like term. But I can add those two things together, so I will. So I have 16 plus 25, and I'm going to get 41 minus 40 cosine. And again, it's very tempting to do this 41 minus 40, but I can't because these are not like terms. I'll instead get the cosine alone. So I'll subtract the 41, and I'm going to get 23 on the left equals negative 40 cosine X. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 40. So I have 23 divide negative 40. And I get my decimal there, negative 5.75, or negative 0.575 equals cosine X. Now I'm trying to find this angle, so I'm going to use an inverse. So inverse cosine of negative 0.575 is going to equal X. So I'm going to inverse cosine this, and I get 125 degrees. So 125 degrees right there. Done. Let's take a look at another one. Now, last time we did this whole thing, solving the triangle. That means, again, find all missing sides and angles. So I have triangle ABC. So I'm just going to draw a triangle right here. A, B, C. Doesn't matter where I put those, but I am going to want to be consistent. So angle C is 73, so that goes right here. It's an angle. A, that's a little side, that's 7. So if this is angle A, across from it is little a, so that's 7. And little b, so across from B is 10. So I'm looking for little c right here. All right, so I'm ready to start. And I notice these are across from each other. So I have to start with finding this. I can't find the B or the A because I just don't have enough information to do that. So I'll start right there. All right, so this C squared. So notice I said the letters don't matter. The thing that I'm looking for is across from, so it's not an A, even though if I look at my formula, it would be A squared equals B squared plus C squared and the rest of it. The letters don't matter. It's where they are on the triangle that matters. So the things across from each other in the formula are that big A and that little a, no matter what the diagram says. So C squared equals, so this is the other two things in my formula. So 10 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 10 times 7 cosine 73. That's probably not going to show up very nice right there. So I'm going to type that all into the calculator. That's going to be 100 plus 49 minus 2 times 10 times 7 times cosine 73. So 108. So C squared equals 108. And then I'm going to square root that. (108), and I get 6 root 3 exactly. I think a decimal will suffice, so I will go ahead and switch that to a decimal. 10.4. All right, so we have C. So we have this one. All right, that leaves these two angles to find. So now I do have enough information that I could use the law of sines if I wanted to get B and to get A. In this case, I am just going to use the law of cosines again, except this time I'm going to use B. So I'm using this one, and I'll do it in a different color, I suppose. So right here, these are across from each other, which means this 10.4 I'm actually going to use. So I'm going to have 10 squared equals 7 squared plus 10.4 squared minus 2 times 7 times 10.4 cosine B. So 100, 49. I'm going to square that. I get my 108 minus 2 times 7 times 10.4, 145.6 cosine B, and I'll go ahead and combine those. A lot of calculator work. 157. And now, don't combine those. You can't. Those are not like terms. I can subtract the 157 though. So get negative 57 equals negative 145.6 cosine B. Divide by this negative 145.6, both sides. So we have cosine B equals negative 57 divided by negative 145.6. All right, 0.391. I'm looking for an angle, so I'm going to do an inverse cosine. So inverse cosine that. 66.95, so about 67. So angle B is 67 degrees. All right, and then finding this last angle right here, it's going to be pretty easy. I can do 180 minus 67 minus the 73. And get 40 degrees. That's angle A. All right, so there's our triangle all solved. All right, let's take a look at one more thing. Well, we'll have a word problem too. Solve the triangle? Nah, let's skip that. It's the same idea all over again, just different things. Let's take a look at the word problem. Okay, so the word problem says you're standing in a park walkway. All right, so here's the walkway. And you're standing there. You're looking really good right there on that sidewalk, I guess. All right, so 43 to the left, you see a truck. Here it is. There's the ice cream truck. And that was 43 degrees to your left. So this would be like the center. And then it says that the truck was 75 feet away from you. So 75 feet. And then it says to your right, you have a playground. So draw a slide. There's the playground. And that's 110 feet away from you. And the angle to your right is 21 degrees. So if I then look at this, it asks, well, how far are these two things from each other? So I'm looking for this thing right here. So I'm going to draw that picture with a little bit less of that detail. We basically have a triangle here. Now we have this 43 plus 21. That's 64 degrees. So we have a 64 degree angle right here with 75 and 110 and x right here. So these are across from each other, so I'm going to use the law of cosines. So x squared is going to equal 75 squared plus 110 squared minus 2 times 75, 110 cosine 64. Type that all in. Plus 110 squared, 2 times 75, 110 cosine, what did I say that angle was? 64? Yep, 64. All right, we get this big number, 10,491. I need to square root both sides. So square root both sides. And 102. They're 102 feet away from each other. So this, 102. All right, that's it for the law of cosines. Remember, you're basically doing the law of cosines if you have a side angle side set up, like this, see a side an angle, a side, or a side-side-side setup. That's an also possibility for law of cosines.